all the people complaining about getting haircuts, I see your roots, man. You haven't had a fucking haircut or a bleach job or whatever in however long. So just go back the fuck home, eat some ding dongs and shut the fuck up.
Although I do remember ding dongs being delicious. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, I'm just...
Let's not drag ding dongs into this.
I know.
I'm not suggesting that ding dongs are the problem. I'm saying maybe you can placate yourself,
What's next, Dave? Hostess cupcakes, then Drake's coffee cakes, then the world.
Don't forget Twinkies, goddamn.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you remember that whole Twinkies ad campaign? I don't know how old this is. I'm totally dating myself, but there was a whole thing about how the cream gets into the center of the Twinkie.
Yes.
And then there's this one little girl who's like, it's just born there. It's like, shut up.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Kids suck. Don't put kids in your commercials.
I love that we're on a tangent of how people who don't wear masks suck and Indiana people suck and now kids suck.
Yeah. Yeah. People suck. Kids suck. What else sucks? I haven't had a ding dong in so long. I can't tell you what they even taste like. This is a hostess thing. What are the ones that are kind of, when you roll up a rug? They kind of, oh God. Oh, I can picture them.
This week on Junkfoodpiece Theatre.
Ho ho. It's the ho ho.
Ho ho. Thank you.
Ho-ho.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hee, it's a ho ho.
Welcome to Spoiler-Piece Theatre, a podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Megan Kearns. I'm a contributor to Edge Media and a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
I'm Dave Riedel. I occasionally write for Salt Lake City Weekly, but mostly I'm just in quarantine, and I'm also a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
And my name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s movie guide to better living.
Yeah, you are.
Indeed.
So this week, we have some films to talk about. We're going to be talking about Relic, The Beach House, We Are Little Zombies, and we're going to do a very brief discussion on the film version of Hamilton, Broadway show.
Yes.
Don't everybody get all excited at once.
Okay.
You're like, I won't, don't worry. So that's what we're going to kick off the show talking about, because everybody's been talking about it on social media, and because it's a huge deal that it came out a full year early on Disney Plus, and I am luckily someone who has Disney Plus. I think I'm the only one of the three of us who does.
Yes.
So I was, so I was able to see it, and I was very eager because I've wanted to see the show for a very long time, but obviously tickets are, nigh impossible to get, and it costs a lot of money, to get them and go to New York and all that jazz. Not that I don't love doing that, but I can very rarely do it. So I was really excited. And I have to say, I've listened to the music many times. I think Lin-Manuel Miranda is highly, highly talented, and I love his music. I love the way he writes. I love the infusion of hip hop along with, Broadway show tunes. I think it's genius, and it's really great and fun to listen to and very emotional and just wonderful. I will also say that seeing a filmed version of it where the camera can zoom in and the camera can spin around, it gives this real energy and liveliness, almost not frenetic, but at times it is. And it really heightens the experience in a really fascinating way, because you obviously are missing out on something when you're not there at a live theater performance. So it's like, how can you, make people feel the same kind of emotions or something comparable when you're not actually there? And the camera work is so fluid and great, and the editing is also fantastic. And it's really incredible to see the close-ups of the actors as they're, performing and dancing and singing and emoting, and it's really great. And some of the actors, it's interesting to see who is kind of more subtle, but yet still very emotive. It's fascinating to watch. So it really adds another element, which I absolutely loved. And I was riveted. The songs are incredible. I will say that Renee Elise Goldsberry, who I've been a fan of for many years, I loved her on One Life to Live because yes, I used to watch soap operas, and I loved her. Absolutely loved her in Waves. I think she needs to be in all the films. She's incredible in this as Angelica Schuyler, and her performance of Satisfied just renders me a sobbing mess because you guys might not know this, but I actually, and I hate to admit this, and this was something my best friend told me for a really long time. He's like, you love a love triangle. And I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't. I hate them. That's stupid. But no, I do. I love
here first, folks.
Breaking news. I love a love triangle. So yeah. So that song, she's singing about how he's with her sister, but she's in love with him and how she's never going to be satisfied in life. And it's just heartbreaking. It's wonderful. And then there's also another song singing about, the death of their child, Alexander Hamilton and his wife, like the death of their child. It's absolutely gut-wrenching and heartbreaking, incredible song. And there's just so many others. And Daveed Diggs is amazing. He's so charismatic and just so fun to watch. And it's such a powerful piece of art. It is also really interesting to see, and interesting in the best possible way, to see people of color in every single role except for two, and those two roles are played by villains played by white people.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah, it totally makes sense, and I love it. And it's great, and there's absolutely no reason we shouldn't be seeing people of color in roles, historically, whether or not they were played by people, whether or not they were people of color. I think I love the element of that, of casting, almost entirely and exclusively, people of color. I think that's fantastic. Something interesting though that keeps coming up, or that has come up in the past week since the film version has aired, is people criticizing the film version for not addressing slavery more. And it is absolutely addressed in the show. But it's not really talked about that, like, Alexander Hamilton's family had slaves, and Thomas Jefferson in the show, played by Daveed Diggs, is criticized for having slaves, but not George Washington and other characters. And I think that's a really interesting point. And Lin-Manuel Miranda has been absolutely lovely about the criticism. And he's like, yeah, that's fair. He's like, I was trying to, shove a ton of history into a 2.5 hour show, and get, music and get all these facts and get everything, but it's not perfect. And yeah, but I think that's something important to keep in mind. But yeah, but it's still, I think, an incredible show, and incredibly heartfelt and just fascinating. And actually, it made me really want to learn more about Alexander Hamilton. So, there's that.
Yep, that's definitely a good thing. Got you to want to learn more about history. I'm sure that was something they were going for.
Yeah, and it's also the one other thing I want to say about it, because I mean, there so many people have written about it and talked about it, and I could go on and on talking about it, but I'll keep this brief. But the one other thing I really like is that the person who's ultimately the narrator of the story, the one who's ultimately telling the story, is his wife. And I love that. I love that it's a woman telling the story, that she's the arbiter of the narrative. And, she says she's taking herself out of the narrative when she's cheated on, but then she puts herself back in. And I really love that. That's like, who's going to tell your story? And she's the one telling the story. And it really is so much about the women characters as well. So it's just great. And the music's amazing. It's catchy, makes you cry. All the emotions. It's good stuff.
Yay.
Yay, feelings.
I just had one question. This is the original cast, or is there any like... Okay.
No, this is the original cast. Well, two of the original cast members had left. I think they were in smaller roles. But yeah, this is the original cast. And like Jonathan Groff, who plays King George, had already left the production, and he came back just for these 3 performances to film the film version of this. So yeah, so it is almost the entire original cast, which is really cool. Yeah, and they filmed it before Renee Elise Goldsberry left, and someone else was about to leave too. Yeah.
Cool.
Which is nice too, because that's the thing too, is, it still is great to see it, when when Broadway shows and when, musicals and, tour again, it's still great to see other casts perform it live. But it is really nice to see, the original cast, especially, Lin-Manuel Miranda, since it's his baby, his creation, he's starring in it. So it's nice. It's just great to see.
For sure.
So if you have Disney Plus or when it ever comes anywhere else, definitely check it out.
Okay.
But I think now we'll move on to talk about the Japanese film We Are Little Zombies.
We Are Little Zombies.
Yeah, which is a super dark and cute film, which sounds like a strange juxtaposition. But
that's an apt description.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So this film is about 4 orphans who meet at their parents' funeral and then eventually form a band.
Yep, that is something that happens. And their band is called We Are Little Zombies.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that is their band.
It's called The Little Zombies.
Yes, and their song is We Are Little Zombies.
That's right.
And it's based off of the old video game in the movie, We Are Little Zombies.
Mm-hmm. Like an old Game Boy game.
So, guys, I just want to break in here for a minute and ask what it was you liked about it, because I got 15 minutes in and I had to stop. And not because I thought it was bad, but because...
I didn't say I liked it yet, by the way.
But here's what happened. I've it's just, things are, what they are around the house these days. And this was the last movie for this week's show that we had to watch. And I had a full day and then I just had one of those days where it's just like, it was just one of those days. And I started the movie and I'm like, okay, it's a Japanese movie. Generally speaking, I like Japanese cinema. So I put it in, and then just so much noise. And I don't think I've ever seen a movie where the dialogue is spoken so quickly. I'm just like, the subtitles are flying on so fast. Now, granted, I am dumb. So, it's kind of hard for me to read generally. But so there's that. And then just the 8-bit music everywhere and the video game graphics, and just I was just like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And no reflection on the movie, but I just couldn't do it. So what do you guys think?
Yeah. So a few thoughts. This movie is an assault on the senses.
So I'm not wrong.
Apt description.
No, it is definitely not a movie for anyone with chronic migraines. You should probably listen closely if you have them, because this movie is an assault. Lots of loud noises, lots of bright colors, lots of 8-bit music. It, for me, I feel like the best description is if Scott Pilgrim did cocaine and then got too freaked out and then took some like shrooms to try to come down from the cocaine. And because the rest of the movie, like after a certain point, just becomes this bizarre hallucination into like, just there's like a scene where they're in a car that is like in a womb.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, and it turns into like a fetus that's given birth. It's so fucking weird.
So I have to say, so I completely agree with you that I think an assault on the senses is very much an apt description. I actually thought of it as not only obviously an audio sense because of the word, but it's also a visual cacophony. Like there's a lot competing for your attention. The 8-bit music, as charming as I thought it was initially, I'm like, oh my God, just stop. It's very grating. But I actually did enjoy this. I thought, I love films that are infused with magical realism. I found it a kaleidoscopic, video game fueled dreamscape, and I just really dug that. What I had a harder time with is, and by the end, this is kind of different, arguably, but I had a really hard time with the fact that they're so emotionless, because I really revel in seeing emotions on screen. And so they tell you right up front, this is the story of 4 unemotional people. That's partly why they keep talking about how they're zombies and people call them zombies. But I will say what I do appreciate about that is, even though it made it a little hard for me to connect with the characters, I do really appreciate, like, I've said this before in the show, it's very clear, like, when you're numb like that, it's, from grief and from trauma. And so it makes sense. It makes sense that, these kids are going to be kind of numb, or potentially be numb, because of their grief or because of their trauma. And I kind of love that they band together and they're just like, they're like, reality is stupid. Adults are stupid. And like,
these are lines in the movie.
yes, these are actual quotes. And I love that. And I love, like, very early on, Ikaru, I think is her name. She says, it's too hardcore. And Hikari is like, no, it's an easy level, because he's talking about the video game. And she's like, no. She's like, not the game. I'm talking about life. And it just, I don't know, like, there was just something kind of interesting thinking about how would children deal with grief and trauma. They would resort into, this kind of, video game, soaked dream world. And I really loved that. And I loved the weird cinematography and camera shots, like within a bag of chips, and like from the perspective of, like, a coffin as it's being pushed,
first person cigarette smoking was definitely a part of it. I liked the overhead shots that made them look like they were little characters in one of those overhead games, like in the old, like Zelda, like
exactly. Yep. I loved that. Yeah. So I thought there were a lot of things to love about this. And I thought it was really interesting. I really love that the director, Makoto Nagahisa, he was also the composer for the film. He also wrote the film. Like, I kind of love that this was clearly his vision, and this is his debut film, or feature length debut film. And I really dug that. And I really like exploring children and grief. I just wish it had been a shorter film. I think it's a bit too long.
Yeah, it's long. It swings for the fences, which I respect the hell out of. It makes a lot of really brash, bold choices.
Yes.
And I think that's really awesome. And I think there's a lot of really entertaining dialogue, because the kids say hilarious shit.
Yes,
like,
they're so funny.
He's at the funeral in the beginning, his parents' funeral, and he's like, funeral orange juice is the worst. Like, he said so many funny things. They all say very funny things. And I like the idea of video games and levels and acquiring items. I thought that was all really fun.
Yeah.
It's just, it becomes too long. It becomes overbearing. I didn't like how we individually had to go through each person's backstory separately. I felt like that was just, it made the movie longer than it needed to be before we got to, because it takes a really long time to get to the music.
Really long.
The music. Like when they have that really awesome scene where they're rocking out with all of the homeless people that are living in that area that they're squatting in. And then their music video is really awesome. And so I really enjoyed all that aspect of the movie, but I felt like it took too long to get there.
It does take a really long time. The one thing I will say is, like, I'm kind of cringing over here because I think visually it was great, but I'm like, that song, like, we are little zombies. I'm like, oh my God, stop. Like, it's so obnoxiously catchy. And I'm just like, no. But yeah, but I actually liked that they did everyone's backstory separately. But I do agree with you. It took way too long. Like, that could have been shortened up and they could have gotten kind of plunged them into the story much quicker. But overall, I liked it.
I think I come down more on the side of not liking it, but I feel like that's just because it felt so overbearing to me. But I was happy when I finally turned off the movie, because I was thank God for my senses. My ears now are good. And there were times I literally could not look at the screen because it was so bright, or it was just flashing so much.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, thinking about, people with disabilities, I really feel like this should probably have a warning. Like, if you're someone who's susceptible to seizures, and that feels strange to say, and for a film to have a warning, but no, that you're right. There are a lot of flashing lights. It's a lot of quick cuts. Yeah, I mean, I loved it visually. Audio-wise, I loved it conceptually, but not necessarily in execution. Because as much as I love video games and as much as I love old Nintendo, the 8-bit music gets grating very, very quickly. Yeah, but Yeah, but I think there's a lot of great ideas here. And I found the morbidity of it, just there was something really sweet about it. Like I found this such a like lovely, sweet film, even though it's so dark. And yeah, it was, I found it really enjoyable. But yeah, but I can see how this might not be everybody's cup of tea. But I also agree with you that I love, like you said, how it swings for the fences. I love how ambitious it is. And I love how this is such a distinctive, unique film. And I really appreciated that. I think we all can say, like, we always appreciate when something really stands out and, when a director really takes a chance. And I think that's great.
Sorry.
Okay, Mr. Contrarian, for the sake of contrarians.
Yeah, sorry. I beg your pardon.
Yeah. I do appreciate that for sure. I like when a movie stands out, even if I don't necessarily love it. And I feel similarly about Sorry to Bother You when that came out. I finished that film and I said, I don't know if I love it, but I definitely am not going to see anything else like that this year. And I feel similarly about this movie.
That's a good comparison. Very different films, but very good comparison in that way. Yeah. All right. Do we have anything else we want to say about We Are Little Zombies?
I don't. Big surprise.
All right. Well, then let's move on to the sci-fi horror film, The Beach House.
Yep.
The Beach House.
So just to give the plot summary very quickly, two people who are a couple and they're in college. They go away for the weekend to a family beach house and they encounter a couple. And
sea
not
creatures.
all is right. And an infestation, like an infection.
Mm-hmm.
Something's taking over.
Cue apocalypse.
Yes. And I'm ready for it. So, all right. So I saw this a while ago. And by a while, I mean like not actually a while ago. I saw it like a couple months ago at a virtual film fest. So I've been sitting on this film for a while and have been dying to talk about it, but I want to know what you guys think about it first.
Evan?
Oh.
I'm not sure you want to know what I think.
Ooh.
I was not a fan of this movie. Similarly to We Are Little Zombies, I was psyched when I got to turn this off.
Wow.
I don't think that I disliked it like that. I'm more of this is a 40-minute idea that is somehow 87 minutes. That's kind of what I thought. Because you've got the whole thing. Okay, they go to the beach house and they don't know that there's this other couple staying there. And you think that's going to be the horrifying thing. And that just turns out, these other people are just staying there, whatever. Because this guy's estranged from his father, so he doesn't know that he told some friends you can stay there. But it takes a really long time to get to the horror because they spend the first 30, 35 minutes being fucking high. And it's just like, and then it's an excuse that the really smart young woman in the couple who wants to be some kind of cetacean biologist or marine biologist or biochemist or something, I can't remember, for her to explain how plankton works and how things live in the sea and and then wouldn't you know it, all of this stuff manifests itself exactly how she said. So
it's astrobiology, by the way.
Astrobiology.
Yes.
Yeah.
But strangely, I think one of the things that irked me about the movie is I felt like even though she has a very scientific background, I didn't see many instances of her using science to her advantage. I know that a certain amount of traumatic situations, people are not thinking clearly, but there were so many instances where I thought, no, why are you doing that? When she was like on the beach and let that worm, that worm thing went into her foot and then she took it out. I just feel like there were situations where I thought a scientist would know how to handle this better than you're handling this right now.
Well, she's a student scientist in her defense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, she is.
But I'm not really going to play logic cop on this one. I feel like my issue is that although I really dug the body horror, like totally dug the body horror, I thought it was just
so good,
super gross and gooey, and I feel like that was the movie's strength. I just found it, for me, just utterly lacking in tension and very flat, and so I just had a hard time watching all the events happen because I just was not invested.
I agree with all that.
Oh my God. I completely disagree with both of you.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let us have it.
So, but the thing of it is like, I can see, I definitely understand and see your complaints. I just don't have those complaints. So I found this to be such a great kind of melange of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but also Sea Fever, which we covered earlier this year, but also Lee Janiak's great horror film Honeymoon, where like you're not really sure if people are people and like what's happening. Oh, it's great. Anyway, so I loved this. I loved the body horror elements. I agree with you, Evan. I think that's really absolutely the strength of the film. And I do kind of wish there had been a little bit more of it. But I found this to be such a slow burn. And I loved that. Like, I loved that I kept waiting every moment to be like, oh, is this where the older couple, and they're not older, they're like middle-aged, but like, I know I shouldn't call them older. I meant older than the younger couple. But I'm like, oh, is this where the middle-aged couple is going to like, are they going to like, flip out and be, murderers or like, or like, cause I read nothing about this going in. So I knew nothing about it going in. And I was really excited by that. And so I was like, oh, is this what's going to happen? Is this where it's horror? Cause I didn't know it was horror. And I loved that. I loved watching things unfold. I do agree with you, Dave, that the whole reason she is, an astrobiologist or aspiring astrobiologist is because, so she can give that speech on, extinction and evolution and like the way organisms evolve, and that does feel shoehorned in there. If I had to give a complaint, if I had to, not that I have to, but if I did, that'd probably be my one complaint that I wish it had been a little more fluid and organic with that. But yeah, I was really riveted by this. I found the protagonist acting, I found her great. I really was like on her side. I really wanted to see what was going on. And like, because there is this element of you want to be polite to strangers and, she's kind of having a rocky time with her boyfriend and, she's trying to make the best of it, trying to smooth things over. And it's like some weird shit's going down and she's trying to be like a good, guest and a good girlfriend, but like shit's not cool, like things are weird.
Her boyfriend is a dick, by the way.
He's such an asshole. Like one of the first things that he says to her after like he finally, they've been broken up and I guess he disappeared. He just dropped out of school and left. And so they've gotten back together and he's gotten her into bed and then he's just like ridiculing her decision to go to graduate school. And he's like, it's all bullshit, right? And it's like, dude, why don't you just put your thumb up your butt? All right. Shut the fuck up. I am so sick of characters in movies just being total cocksuckers for no reason, just like, the guy doesn't need to be an asshole. He just needs to be 10% less smart than she is so that he can die first. That's it. He could be like, graduate school, I think it might be, it's not for me. Maybe it works for you. I don't know.
Right. For me, it was more I'm going to get stoned and go to sleep and just sleep through every bad thing that's happening and just not give a shit about what's going on with her.
That too.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But aside from him, which his assholery didn't really bother me quite as much as it did you, Dave.
Oh, just
But yeah, I mean, like, who just ghosts their girlfriend like that? Like, yeah, I mean, people do stupid shit though.
Assholes.
But yeah, true, assholes. But like I really loved like like when she's sitting at the beach and like the middle-aged guy is there and there's like it's just kind of creepy and like I loved when the weird gooey shit like was on her foot and the tapeworm enters and that was great. And I love it. And then she's like she's disinfecting with vinegar in the kitchen and she's like using tongs to like pry it out. Yes. I loved that. It was so great. Yeah. And then, and then the people start attacking. And then I also really, really loved the utilization of the radio and like the emergency system warning and like listening to what that was saying, like how, it's extremely dangerous. Everyone's exposed. Don't breathe it. It's not fog. But then as the film progresses, if you hear what it's saying, it's like, oh, it's okay. And like, everything will be all right. Just, don't worry. And it's interesting. Like clearly you can hear people in the outside world also being impacted, outside of this particular beach. And I really, really loved that. And I love how like it towards the end or by the end of the film, she's like racing to get out of the house and then she's racing to get in the truck and like, you know, but she's talking to somebody on the CB radio and they're like, you know, don't breathe it. And it's like terrifying because like, how do you not fucking breathe? Like, you know, and it's all around you. I love it. And then I absolutely love the shit out of the ending of this film. Like I cannot tell you how much I love it. I did like
the last moment when she's like, there's nothing to, whatever she says, like there's nothing to be afraid of. I can't remember.
Yeah. She says, don't be scared.
Don't be scared. I kind of, that redeemed a whole lot of what came before it for me. But otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, I loved that. I thought it was great. I was like, yeah, there was no escaping it. And she's, you know, changing and, you know, evolving and mutating too. But yeah. So I thought this was fantastic. Like, I love so many things about it. I mean, could it have better character development? Yeah, okay. You know, and could it have gotten going a little quicker? Yeah, maybe. But I actually, like I said, I actually stand by the fact that I love the pacing of this. I think the fact that it starts off really slow for me really built up a lot of tension, and because you keep waiting and waiting and waiting, and then when it does, it kind of like creeps in and then just kind of like explodes. And I loved that. And I love the themes. And yeah, I'm down for some body horror and for some eco horror shit. And I love it. And yeah.
I have a serious question. This is going to sound like a joke, but it's a serious question.
Okay.
So the beach coming from the ocean, does it affect people who live in, say, Nebraska or Kansas? I mean, are there people in Albuquerque who it's no problem for them? I mean, are lakes affected? Did the residents of Salt Lake City have to worry? I mean, you know, these are, I think, practical considerations when you're making a movie like this.
I mean, I would say... Yeah, I would say if we're honestly answering that, yeah, I would say they eventually would. Like maybe not initially, but eventually, because I mean, this is a fog. Like they do like seem to migrate via fog. So it could eventually, or maybe not. Maybe it's only coastal communities, you know, maybe it's only
those
like,
liberal elites.
Oh, is that does the film have a secret conservative agenda? No, I don't think it does. I'm kidding.
I was going to say, did you guys know this was shot here in Massachusetts?
No, I didn't.
No, I did not.
Cod.
Or if I did, oh, that's right. Yes. I mean, it's funny. It does look like the Cape.
It does. Yeah.
But yeah.
Very much.
Yeah.
All right.
That's true. And this is also, just like the last film, this is also a directorial debut for Jeff A. Brown. So
cool.
So yeah, I love the sciencey discussions. Like I said, I wish they'd kind of been a little more integrated, but I do love that. Yeah, and I love the score, and I really dug this. I thought this was great. I had a good time.
Okay. Well, you're allowed. I mean, you know.
Am I? Thanks.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. All right. Do we have anything else we'd like to say about Beach House?
Nah, not me. Not me. I did like it when Jake Weber walked off into the ocean and she's like, what the fuck?
Oh my God. That's a great scene.
That was good.
That was actually really, really tense. Like I felt really like kind of like nauseous watching that because it just does not pull away. And yeah, that was great.
That was a good scene.
Yeah. But you know, I will say, to get philosophical for a moment, like what does happen if our bodies become invaded and we do change into different life forms?
I don't even want to think about it. I'm already trying to avoid, you know, not having to be hooked up to a ventilator, which is just way too real. So,
oh God, that is too real.
Yeah. I mean, and I had a life-threatening illness in my early 30s, so I just don't.
Oh my God, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Dave's told that story on the show before, his meningitis.
Oh, meningitis is nothing to fuck with. Good God. Wow.
Yeah, I got lucky. So yeah, I just, you know, I mean, I like body horror too. I mean, you will find Videodrome in my collection and all of David Cronenberg's weird fucking body horror stuff and lots of other directors too. But yeah, it strikes a little too close to home these days. And also, as I had said before, this is a 40-minute idea that was 87 minutes. Yeah. So
not for me, but yes, I know. Yeah, but I hear you. I think the other thing, thinking about like Cape Cod and how it's set there, is that I think I also personally really enjoy any kind of creature, like underwater creature films. Like because the ocean is fucking terrifying. Like there's so much, like we know more about space than we do the ocean. Like that's so ridiculous and fucked up on so many levels. And so thinking about what could be living in the ocean that we don't know, and it's kind of terrifying. And, I know we talked about Jaws on, Patreon last week, and I have a lot of similar, like, gnawing fears and anxieties about that kind of coming into this. But anyway, I thought this was great. But
right. There's still so much we don't know about giant squids.
Oh, giant squids! Yeah. They're so creepy.
Yep.
Although I would like to give a plug for the band Giant Squid, which is a great band.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. All right. So let's move on to our final film of the show. And that is going to be Natalie Erica James's Relic.
Yeah.
The film, one of my top films that I was looking forward to this year.
Ooh. Did it live up to the hype?
Interesting.
It did, in a very unexpected way. Very, very. Yeah. So we'll talk about the brief synopsis of the film. So this is an Australian film, and it's about a woman and her daughter who go to her mother's house because she hasn't heard from her mother, and others haven't heard from her mother in a little bit. And it kind of unfolds from there. Shit kind of goes awry, and you're not entirely sure if there's some kind of haunting, curse, possession, something creepy is going on.
Yes, something is rotten in the house. and
literally and metaphorically.
And I would say that's what I dig about this movie. But yeah, it's Emily Mortimer and Bella Heathcote plays her daughter, and then Robin Nevin plays the grandmother in this.
Yes.
I have a serious question.
Ooh, okay.
Another serious question. Why is grandma Australian and granddaughter definitely Australian, but daughter is Emily Mortimer? Now I know maybe she went to boarding school in England or something like that, but why is her accent so completely different from her daughter's and her mother's? It was weird. The whole time I'm thinking, wow, Emily Mortimer is an English daughter to this Australian woman, but she also has an Australian daughter. That's so crazy.
Maybe her dad was English.
Yeah, maybe. Good question.
Yeah, having lived in a foreign country where there was a different accent, I can say that the accents don't skip generations.
I thought you were going to say accents are inherited matrilineally.
No,
they could be.
That's pretty good though.
That's a good explanation.
I'm kind of in the middle on this one. I kind of dug it, but at the same time, I like a lot of I always think it's a bad thing when horror movies tell you exactly what they're about. I think this one actually could have used a little more of that. It's also maybe not a horror movie. That's maybe not fair. But I did kind of like the idea that her dementia or whatever it was actually growing another wing into the house. Did you guys think that was what was going on? I wasn't sure.
To your point, I think I agree that maybe the mythology could have been fleshed out a little more, because I did kind of end the movie and scratching my head a little bit. I don't know if maybe I'm just missing things, but I liked the idea, like the metaphor of the house physically rotting and it getting into the grandma, and then spoiler, in the end Emily Mortimer seems to be infected as well. But yeah, I kind of was scratching my head a little bit at the end. I didn't quite understand what was going on there. Megan, did you have a better idea of what was going on?
Well, I not at the very end. I was slightly perplexed too, but what I love about this is that I also love that it's about, that it's an allegory for aging and for dementia as well. And I actually, I read a few interviews with Natalie Erica James with Bloody Disgusting and Rue Morgue. And she talked about how this is an incredibly personal film for her because her grandmother suffered from Alzheimer's, and her grandmother like passed away like right before the film finished production. And that is like, once I read that, I was like, I mean, I already kind of took that away from this, like that it's about aging. It's about, you know, how you know, your mind is, you know, unraveling and your memory is unraveling and you're not sure who's who, which is obviously very clearly dementia or Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, when I read that, I was like, oh, yep, that's definitely what's happening. But it is really jumping to the end for a minute, which is so fascinating. And I mean, this is such an eerie and unsettling film. But I also found this, and when I said it lived up to my expectations, like I was expecting this to be a terrifying film, and it wasn't that for me, which is okay, definitely okay. But this had such a surprisingly powerful, emotional, and heartbreaking core that I was not expecting to be like knocked on my ass in that way. Like I was like sobbing, like as, you know, Emily Mortimer and like Bella Heathcote are like finally escaping, you know, the labyrinth of the house that's like trying to like trap them in there. And then Emily Mortimer is like, she sees the note because her mother's been leaving notes everywhere around the house, like, you know, flush the toilet and turn off the lights and, you know, do this and that. And it says, you know, remember there are people who love you or something like that. Like I am loved. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't handle this. And then she stays and then, you know, carrying her up the stairs so like tenderly. And then she's peeling off her skin, which again, body horror and sounds like it would be revolting, but it actually was quite beautiful that she's like peeling away this like husk, this shell. And underneath she's like this like almost like charred creature. And it just is so weird, but so sad and just devastating. And then Bella Heathcote comes back, and that's, you know, when she sees that her mother is going to, you know, have this affliction too. And then is it passed down, you know, or is it because they spent too much time in the house? Is it, you know, matrilineal? Is it genetic? Like, what is it? Like, I don't know, but it's just, yeah, I found this fascinating and it gutted me in a way I wasn't anticipating.
Same. I think the movie takes a really interesting turn toward the end and surprises you in a way, or it surprised me too in a way that I was not expecting, because so often in horror movies, it's we've slayed the beast, we're done, we've escaped. Oh wait, maybe we didn't escape. It's no, she picks up her mother and carries her up the stairs and peels off her skin and then just sits there in bed holding her and comforting her, whether it's still her mother or not, who knows. But it's it's shockingly emotional and poignant in a movie that just a few minutes before was freaking me out when they were stuck in the wall trying to climb out the wall and she was pulling
Emily I love that.
back in. I was like, when that scene was happening, I literally was saying, oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 no. Because
that scene is amazing. I love it.
It's so tense. And I love the idea of this house having all these rooms, but then being trapped in these back hallways, because then I had forgotten about a scene early in the movie where they heard a knocking in the other side of the wall and they didn't know where it was coming from. And then I saw it and thought, oh, now we know what that is. It's someone was trapped back there, and probably the grandmother. That's where she was. She was trapped inside the house somewhere and couldn't get out.
Yeah. And that's such a great parallel. I mean, and a heartbreaking parallel, you know, for people being trapped in their minds, you know, and trapped in their bodies when, you know, their minds go as they age or, you know, through dementia. So it's just, it's like, it's awful in a horror sense, but it's also awful in like a very, very real world practical sense. And it's just, it's so sad. But yeah, this was great. I thought this was so great. I loved it. I love that they're like it's sprinkled throughout. There's commentary on aging and caretaking. Like very early on, Sam, played by Bella Heathcote, says to her mother, she's like, well, isn't that what you do for your parents? Like first she changed your nappies and now you're going to change hers, you know, when her mother's like, oh, I'm going to put my mother in a home, you know, because she thinks her mind's going. And it's like, yeah, that is what, I mean, and not everybody can do this, of course, but that is arguably the social contract. Like, you know, you take care of your, you know, your parental figure if you can, you know, when they're ailing. And it's just, but there's so many commentaries on that, like, you know, and throughout the film, like the grandmother very clearly is like, this is my house, like, you know, and she's like trying to assert herself and, in kind of violent ways, but she's still, trying to retain her identity and her memories. And it also is so sad when she's trying to bury the photo album and she's like, is everyone here? And I'm like, oh my God, this poor woman.
Yeah.
That was getting back to the nursing home too. When she visits the nursing home, it's just so drab and sad. And the woman who works there says, oh, look, there's a view of the ocean. And then you look out and there's, a million buildings between you and the water. And then she refers to it as, I think, something like 5-star living. And it just looks so drab and depressing.
Yeah. I'm like 5-star living with that tiny twin bed. Like, fuck off. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like,
and maybe that's what 5 stars are in, Australia. I mean, they're used to eating wallabies and, kangaroos. What are they?
Yes. In Melbourne, the cosmopolitan city of Melbourne. They're used to eating that.
Yes. That was my attempt at a cheap joke at the expense of Australians and people who only know Australia through Crocodile Dundee.
Oh, God. People are missing out on some really weird, amazing Australian cinema if they're only watching Crocodile Dundee.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the Australians really know how to do weird,
if
you've ever
I
seen...
hate a generalization, but that is a very apt generalization about Australian cinema. You are right about that.
Yeah. They always get into the like, ooh, this is maybe haunted or maybe not. Or should I say, this is maybe haunted and maybe not. So if you guys have ever seen, I think it's with Richard Chamberlain. It's called The Wave. It's an early Peter Weir movie. So weird and bizarre and good. But getting back to this movie, Relic, I have to say that the ending redeemed a whole lot of what came before. Like, I hearing you guys talk about, the metaphor, the dementia metaphor and all that. So we were all kind of on the same page, and I was kind of just like, all right, well, so how are they going to wrap this up? And and I was really moved by the end that Emily Mortimer decided to care for her mother. And then Bella Heathcote went for it too. Yeah. But you know how Megan, who you don't like Tommy Lee Jones? That's
we
were talking about that on the
Patreon
on the Patreon exclusive. I do not like Emily Mortimer. Never have, never will.
Oh no!
So yeah, I can't get behind her, and I think because she has her accent, and the other two are Australian, I was just like, what the fuck is what choice is this? So,
but see, then again, that goes to what I was saying earlier, like when talking about Jeff Bridges' bad Boston accent. I kind of like that she basically stuck to her own accent, like rather than shoehorning in like a really shitty Australian accent. So
yeah, no, I mean, I understand why it might be a reason, but it really stuck out to me. And I don't think she's bad like Ray Winstone is bad. Like no one can be that bad. I just kind of feel like she's you're gonna really dislike this, Megan. It feels like she's kind of a milquetoast performer.
Yes, I do love milquetoast.
Yeah, she's just like, is Emily Mortimer doing her thing? Yeah, all right. There's a movie where she plays an American, I think. Is it Lars and the Real Girl? She's American?
I'm not sure, but anyway. Yeah. I was like, I'm not sure. But it's very clear you do not like Emily Mortimer.
Yeah, it's not even that I don't like her. It's just kind of like, oh, her. It's not like the Ray Winstone reaction where I'm like, I'm not watching this movie. I'm not. Ray Winstone's in this movie.
Okay, let's get off of Ray Winstone. Although I kind of do really want to hear you go on a tangent about Ray Winstone. I'm not going to lie. But yes, that's so funny. And like, that's the thing. We all have our people, but that we, just rub us the wrong way. But yeah, like I really dig Emily Mortimer. Like I think she's great. And I think she's great in this. And I love Bella Heathcote. She's great in this. Robin Levin, is that her name? I cannot remember. Who plays the grandmother. Nevin, thank you. She's amazing. So yeah, I think this was great. And I love all the creepiness with like the knocking through the walls. And I love that you find out towards the end what that is. And the lights flickering and then the lights go out and yeah, this was great. And I love that this really keeps you on your toes. Like I said, I was really not sure for a long time. Is this, a haunted house? Are they under a curse? Is this like a cursed item? Is the grandmother possessed? Like what is happening? And yeah, I think it all really, really works on a very visceral horror level. And I think it also really works on a very emotional, metaphorical level too.
Yeah. It works on the intellectual level too. I couldn't not agree more.
Yes. Yes. I know. I keep thinking about it. I keep pondering it. It keeps making me upset thinking about it in like the best possible way.
Yeah. It made me very uncomfortable. Unsettled by the end of the movie.
Yes. Yes. It's very unsettling. And you know, it's funny because we talked about You Should Have Left a couple weeks ago, and also a haunted house where, you know, the house keeps shifting and the walls, you know, and keep changing and keep creating new hallways or whatever, and you can't get out and you can't escape. And I feel like I wish the filmmakers had learned from this film, because this film does it so masterfully, and you know how to utilize space and how to really inflict terror that way, and dread and tension. Not to, you know, criticize another film, but I just thinking I couldn't help but contrast the two just because this is done so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely done better than You Should Have Left.
Yeah, but anyway. Yeah, but I'm really thinking about watching this again, because I oftentimes don't rewatch films in a year just because, you know, there's so many things to watch, but like I just can't stop thinking about this and pondering it. Like I kind of really want to watch it all over from the beginning again.
I don't think I have the strength.
I know,
I don't
right?
think I have the emotional strength.
But by the way, I have to say, aside from Black Christmas, I cannot think of a time when a Christmas tree is more fucking ominous than in the opening of this film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very disturbing. Also, something else I was thinking about too, that I wanted to circle back to, talking about aging and talking about how in society, how, you know, children can look after their parents as they age. There's also something interesting too. One of the scenes that like really kind of I was on edge is when Kay looks under the bed because her mother asks her to. And it's something that's a very interesting scene because she's like, "Is anything under the bed?" And she looks and she's like, "No, of course not." And she's like, no, can you check? And it's very much reminiscent of like a child asking their parent, like, "Hey, you know, I'm scared that there's a monster under the bed," and like, oh shit, there is.
Right. Yeah. That seems strange to me that she looked under the bed, saw something freaky, hit her head, and then didn't investigate further.
Right? Maybe she was too pissed off.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I thought that was strange too. Yeah. But then it's funny because I don't know if you guys got this, but I kept getting a sense throughout the entire film that Kay kind of had a sense of what was going on, because she had all those dreams about her, you know, grandfather and then her mother like being in that cabin and dying and that decay. And so I almost got the sense that like, and then at the end of the film when she's like, "No, I can't leave, I gotta stay," it's almost like she was like, "Oh shit, I knew this was coming and now I've got to do it." So I don't know if she actually did know what was going on, but it almost in a weird way felt like she kind of knew, or maybe she just suspected. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could interpret it that way, I think. I mean, I don't think I thought about it as much as you did. So
that's fair.
But it makes sense hearing you say it.
Yeah. All right. Are there any other things that we'd like to say about Relic?
No, it not to be confused with the 1997 Peter Hyams movie, The Relic.
I know, and I did send that in an email. I put The Relic, and I was like, "Shit, wrong film." Totally different film. All right, then. Well, let's recap our films. So, Hamilton, I would say, if you have access to it, definitely see it. It is an incredible production, and it's great to finally see it. We Are Little Zombies. Evan?
I feel very mixed because, like I said, I think there's a lot of really great ideas in here, but it is an assault on the senses. So I think if you can handle that, then sure. But yeah, I feel kind of mixed on whether I would say see it or not.
Yeah. And I would say with that caveat or warning, if you will, going in, I would definitely say see it because I found this a really great film. I really enjoyed it. And I think it's very innovative and interesting. So for those reasons, I would definitely recommend it. Okay. The Beach House. I think I know where you guys are going to fall on this, but
yeah.
All right. Evan, do you agree?
I agree.
Okay.
I concur.
And I would definitely... I concur. Very official. And I would give it a huge enthusiastic recommendation. I would definitely say, see this. I thought this was great. So I love it when we agree, but I also love it when we disagree. But
yeah,
anyway.
It's fun.
And then Relic.
Yes.
It is fun. And then Relic, I would definitely say, see, without question, absolutely see it. What would you guys say?
Sure, why not? I mean, I mean, I don't mean to sound so blasé about it, but it does have its moments, that are very effective, just not enough. But I think it's still worth seeing because some of it is very good, That's where I come down.
Yeah, I would enthusiastically say see it. I really thought it was good. Although like I said, I don't have the strength to see it again. It really took a lot out of me emotionally.
Yeah, I know. I felt like I needed a vacation after that. It was hard. But again, in the best possible way. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic film. All right. So that's going to do it for this week for Spoilerpiece Theater. We want to give a huge, huge thank you to our amazing and fantastic editor, Otto Clammer. Thank you, Otto. We couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much. You can find us anywhere you get podcasts. We're at all of the places. You can also find us at our website, which is spoilerpiece.com. You can find us on social media. We're Spoilerpiece Theater on Facebook. We're at Spoilerpiece on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. So follow us on all of the social media places. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us. We love to hear from you. We want you to reach out to us. So please do. You can email us at spoilerpiece@gmail.com, or you can even give us a call
at 862-21-PEACE.
We look forward to hearing from you. If you like the show, if you really, really like it, please rate and review us by going to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece. And if you really, really, really like the show, like you just cannot get enough, we've got some extra bonus content for you if you join our Patreon. Yep. This week's exclusive audio, we talk about Blown Away, thanks to one of our patrons who's in the $10 tier. And if you're in the $10 tier, you get to recommend what we watch each month. And then we talk about it. The $5 tier, you get access to our exclusive weekly bonus episodes. You also get to vote in monthly polls. We'll have a poll up very soon for this month. And for $1 a month, we give a huge, huge thank you. And we appreciate any amount that you can give. So thank you. We appreciate all of our amazing patrons. And so we want to take a moment to thank all of those patrons.
So a huge thank you to Sean Pensionar, to Christopher Jensen, to Bob Chipman, to Davida Margolin, to Zach Pigeon, Chris Wilkinson, Daniel Ronsley, I'm going for it this time, Eliza, Max Coville, Shona Glasgow, Rory Glynn, Shelley M. McCaskill, Mike, Lord of the Sith. Like having conversations with Mike on Twitter.
We do.
Deirdre Crimmins and Shauna Harris.
Thank you, patrons.
Thank you so much, patrons. You're amazing. And we really appreciate all of your support. My name is Megan Kearns. I'm a contributor to Edge Media, and I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association. You can follow me on Twitter at OpinionSWorld, and you can follow me on Instagram and Letterboxd at TheOpinionS.
My name is Dave Riedel. I write sometimes for Salt Lake City Weekly. You can find me on all the places as Dave Sees Movies. That's Instagram, Letterboxd, and Twitter. And that's it.
And my name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living. And you can follow me on Twitter and on Letterboxd as Real Recon.
All right. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
See you next week.